Morning, morning, morning. Morning. To be a woman in Sierra Leone is one of the most difficult situation for every girl picking in Sierra Leone. And I don't know how many years we don't see this. I don't know how many years we don't see how women are the struggle in Sierra Leone. I don't know how many years we don't see the poverty, lack of economic activities for women them, teenage pregnancies among young girls them, and sexual harassment on women all across the country. Women cannot raise their head high on something, they are ready to be chopped off. Women cannot come and compete with men in politics. They cannot actually try to occupy higher places, they are chopped down. It's all about the historical issues here. You know, Sierra Leone being a patriarchal society, and this is a society what women were born and grew up to see this patriarchal situation at Sierra Leone, where men dominate, are the dominant, gender at Sierra Leone. So there's never been an attempt by the Sierra Leone government for create a gender balance. Never been an attempt by any entity or, for create good institutions the way to support women then. You look at the political situation of women, they're still really battling about percentage. This particular year, I heard some females in parliament were jubilating that they have at least been afforded almost 20-something% to 30%. And all I'm saying is, today in Sierra Leone, women must not be talking about percentage. Women must be talking about equal participation in every aspect of the society. Because the thing about the Beijing conference has been almost over 30 years ago when they actually discussed the affirmative action in Beijing. But that's over 30 years ago. I'd expect that nations that would have been making progress should have reached this level now, where there's a real gender balance in regards to a lot of things happening in Sierra Leone. Yesterday I was in a travel show, and fortunately another great woman joined that show, Miss Liz Kaima from Bo. And she discussed a story of a girl in Abo town. And I've been able to actually see photos of this wonderful young girl, Abo, going with her last name as George. She's 16, and she was impregnated by her own uncle, who actually fled because the uncle fled. Look at the consequences of his behavior. Even in Australia here, this Australia, the great Australia country, in Sydney, a certain guy where they call Sandy, not only the flower in Step Pekin, na Sydney, but it's, not only the flower sexually molested, but the thing lead to pregnancy. We've never seen, even the society is devastated and shocked in Sydney, that a Sierra Leone man can actually do a horrible thing like this. When I heard about that story, I was ashamed to call myself a Sierra Leonean. Sierra Leone is populated with so many male shenanigans, many men who have not actually changed their thinking from what they knew from their fathers. Many who grew up from a polygamy patriarchal home, and actually we grew up, we never saw any romantic kind of thing from our parents. I've never actually even seen a papa kiss my one day from us. So this is a society where there's a lot of things we actually picked from our fathers that were not actually of modern day nature, you know, and we just continue the same flow, the same patriarchal mentality, and you know, we're not making an effort to actually right the wrong. So just as I was saying, Miss Liz actually introduced this woman, this young girl who was supposed to be in school. She's 16. Now she's actually a mother of twins, a problem caused by her own uncle. And this continues to happen in Sierra Leone, where the community does not act in a proactive way to highlight some of the issues, some of the ills of what men they do against women in our society today. We have a culture of silence, a culture where women don't actually encourage their young girls to talk about the abuse. Young children are not given opportunities to express themselves. So that's why a lot of this abuse go unreported and it becomes another story. So this is the story of this young person. I saw her photos and I hope that I could speak to her on Monday. See what I can do to help. It breaks my heart when I see this Pekin, I don't know the first name, but with the last name of George. And when I see a Pekin at 16 years, get for actually left in village with a 2 Pekin name. She was going to school, it don't pass the SS1 or whatever, with a really good grade. And she was told to write her story in the Bow Town Caritas Hospital. This is like Sky Mother Walk. And she wrote a beautiful, really handwritten note and story about what happened to her. So you look at the literary expressions, you know, say this is a possible. If we not actually come to give her help, she's finished at 16. She wants to be educated. She wants to pursue education. She wants to pursue skills and everything. Of course, she's got that intention, but she has been impregnated by her own uncle. This is the unfortunate thing where they happen at Sierra Leone, and the most shocking thing. Why this would happen at Sierra Leone? So I've actually offered some assistance in that level and see if I could take it as a project. Transforming lives is good. It's a good thing, something I enjoy. You know, particularly transforming the most vulnerable people in our society to make them better is something every Sierra Leonean for enjoy. Today, as I'm saying this, you know, we've got almost between 30 to 40,000 children all across Sierra Leone, the Begna Street, coming from very poor homes. Some of them are orphans. Some of them have guardians that themselves are extremely poor and cannot actually afford to put them in school and cannot afford to, they are even 3 square meal a day. That's the case of this PQA, where I adopt Fanta and I try to transform her life. I could not actually go back to history for, you know, talk about, just for discuss on the circumstances where we there when I saw her. I guess the unfortunate thing, there are countless numbers of children who are still in dire need of support, and in Sierra Leone, not having any form of support, not get any future, particularly girl picking them, having an opportunity, a possibility for being impregnated before even the 16th birthday, and even die before the 30th birthday. It's a horrible situation in Sierra Leone with women. Women who they have actually turned into manufacturing factories now. I mean, there were so many women. I mean, many women in Sierra Leone by 30 years they've carried so many children with them. And where are the fathers of these children? They are nowhere to be seen. Nobody takes responsibility for nothing. No male takes no responsibility. Government does not make people take responsibility for what is theirs, their own responsibility, their duty of care. And this is in itself is a tragedy. Because we have a society where men think that they have a right to just scatter the DNA all over the country, and where there are no consequences for that. You know? So, because there are no proper regulations on family issues at Sierra Leone today, well, it don't create a very bad situation for women and children. Today in Sierra Leone, there's so many single women carrying so many children with them, not having the extra support from nobody. And these men will impregnate them are nowhere to be seen. These men are moving from one township to another and continue to do the same thing over and over and over again. The government does not respond because the government is not even a government, it's a banana republic. A government that does not invest on social services. So one of the things I was trying to say in Trevor's show is there is nothing you can talk about policies and bringing change in Sierra Leone where you know they put investment. Any law and policy where you make, any office where you open for implement law and policy, the money they can the money. The issues on fixing this problem in Sierra Leone, it's all about money. I mean, for example, with, say, Queensland State alone, a state where I worked in the child protection system for a long time, and also do associated program with organizations funded by the state government under the Department of Communities and Disability Services. That department alone was, it's the time me there as a child safety officer was funding the department, the government, the Queensland government was funding the department $760 million. $760 million. That's a lot of money to share around the Queensland state to all the services then. That is why under that money there, we get the government departments where I work for, where they make policies, they deal with legislation, where they seek orders and investigate child abuse. If the money not there, how will you actually change society if money not there? For example, the office where I work, we had 28 staff. Every staff gets in their own cubicle. When I mean cubicle, every staff gets in your own cubicle. You have your typewriter, you have your computer, you have your printing, small printer there. You get on a particular area team gets on a fridge and that. You get your telephone, and then you get access to car at any time. Because there are a couple of things I did in child protection. I did investigational assessment, I did intake, I did intervention with parental agreement, and I went to long-term guardianship where we seek long-term, short-term orders from court. And all of these things were the talk so. Not only inside office somewhere in the day. As part of our job involved, doing all your paperwork, dealing with all the legislation, and then going out to the field, doing home visits, traveling to families, holding family meetings here, visiting homes for see how the people do. It all involves resources. That is why in we own office of 28 staff, we had about 14 to 15 cars. We had 14 to 15 vehicles. Now we own service. And it's hardly that you ring reception that, oh, I need to go do a job quick. I need to go check up, I need to go do some investigation or something. You ring reception, there's no car available. If I remember the tour I've been working, there are always cars available. Always cars available. In terms of communication, it was all good. In terms of, movement around to do your job, there was always cars available. This is part of the resources that they talk about. Western society is the way actually serious about addressing issues of families, women, and children. That is why they get the department, just like how we get the Department of Gender and Children Affairs at Sierra Leone. But how much is this department budgeted? Because since last year, there was a AYV TV presentation where I was shocked to understand that the family support unit, the arm of the police that is responsible to respond to child abuse, domestic violence, and so many other things like that, was funded only 4 million a year, while the First Lady of Sierra Leone, under her Hands of a Girl project, was taking billions and billions and billions of dollars. Of leones. This is a tragedy, This is a tragedy. So while how they call themselves, they are struggling for funding. While the First Lady, they cut so much money, they think about cut away so much money. The problem is, my argument is, why, if this First Lady be really serious about this Hands of a Girls, if I understand, say, in not an implementing agency, in not a police, in not a law enforcer, so not only for take all that money there, because you get no action for do pass for bluff dress fine Biden, Pierre Cardin, Gucci, call the other First Lady for car enjoy, car make bluff, make them speech and everything. This is not how you change the lives of people. Changing the lives of people is the government to get serious about funding the family support unit very, very strongly, ensuring that all the organizations and where they deal with rape victims and that get some serious amount of funding. Every year they forget serious amount of funding. The Gender and Children Affairs Ministry should be funded seriously. Because if these institutions are not properly funded, how will they be able to implement the policies of governments? How will they be able to address the issues that are affecting women and children today? The institutions are not funded. Rainbow Inn was talking about a lack of funding. They don't get funds from the government. Plenty of other services, the way they deal with children and women and children's issues, youth issues, are not getting funding. So at the end of the day, what are we talking about? It's like a society that is not really ready to transform the situation of children, and particularly girls in our country today. I'll give it just good examples like this state government where I do associated programs for where I work for. This state government budgets $760 million. Where you share $760 million across the state, where all the different services them, where our care services them, where they deal with picking them, where our youth organizations them, where our other support services them, where they contribute for providing support to young people then, and in accordance to the Child Protection Act or the Youth Justice Act, they are all funded. I've worked for numerous organizations in Kenya. For example, when I left Child Protection, I worked for an organization called A Good Start to Life. A Good Start to Life was getting almost $3.something million a year. An organization of almost about 30 staff. I was one of their program manager. I understood all the funding processes. This particular organization where I work for gets almost $5.something million funding a year from government. I mean, these are one of the big organizations in our Kenya, and we get almost nearly 100 staff. You know, so this is what is happening when the government actually budgets, and they roll it across all the services. Well, I mean, this explains the reason why when rape case happen at Sierra Leone, nothing happens. Because first and foremost, the other problem of real society is the judiciary. You know, I mean, if the government is serious, it is a collective effort. It's not only about funding, but ensure that the police is equipped, the judiciary is equipped. The police arm that deals with family issues is directly funded very, very heavily, because they need to go out and in and out every single day. They need for use motor car, they need for use so many different things there. But they aren't doing that. And it's so unfortunate. And also, I will finally end this to say we need to get a Juvenile Justice Act. I'm not going to get time for explain all this act, but there's just so much to a Juvenile Justice Act for help this situation. So, well, this country, the problems of our society, we have men who are in charge of this nation. And I can tell you this, as I told Trevor in his show, that look, forget it. If we feel that we men, we occupy political spots in Sierra Leone, could change and improve the conditions for women and children, forget it. Men in Sierra Leone can never do that. That is why women must strive very hard to find themselves in the forefront of politics, or occupy certain positions so they can be able to make proper, sound decision for themselves, and then pick it away the struggle, particularly legal picking it. Thank you very much. I'll come back again with some other segment later on in the morning.